Mark Cuban speaks, the tanking debate that has taken off all across the league. Camille and I share our thoughts coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. I am Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first stop of the day each and every day, and for helping make the Locked On Network the number one sports podcasting network in the industry. Earlier today, we ran through the schedule for not only the Bucks, but those other teams that are just in front of them in the standings, and our thoughts on the final 29 games for the Bucks and what we're going to see here in the standings and the play-in tournament. So if you missed that episode, by all means, go back and check that one out. But we also saw Mark Cuban weigh in on the tanking debate. Camille, we've heard a lot from Mark Cuban in these last couple weeks. Number one, he's been very vocal about Pablo Torre finds out and the whole Steve Ballmer cap circumvention thing, which marks, I don't want to speak for him, but felt like we got a lot of source trust me bro on this of like, well, rich guys are smart, so clearly he wouldn't have done this. We then heard, hey, Mark Cuban is trying to get a group to buy back the Dallas Mavericks. And again, I go back to that infamous line from The Office. Camille, were you a big fan of The Office?
Absolutely.
Okay. The pizza delivery kit that they kept hostage, where it's just Michael saying we could have paid for the pizzas. I mean, yeah, you could have also maybe not sold and not sold low when you sold the Dallas Mavericks and saw everything that happened afterwards. But now, of course, Mark Cuban is going to wade into the tanking waters and share his thoughts there. So you had a chance to see the tweet. Anybody that hasn't seen it, Mark Cuban has, 9 million followers, whatever it is, on Twitter. I'm sure you've seen it by now, but he is also continuing to double down and tweeting back at people who have raised questions and everything else. But the long story short of it is Mark Cuban's thoughts are, look, the NBA should actually embrace tanking. I don't think tanking itself is a problem in the league. I think affordability and experience is a problem. So when you read this paragraph of a tweet filled with typos and everything else,
that's how I know he wrote it.
What was your main immediate takeaway?
My first takeaway was like, you're not wrong that affordability and quality of game presentation.
It's also not an NBA issue. I would say it's affordability as a nation. And
yeah, like that's definitely an issue, but like the two things don't correlate to me as directly as he was saying. Like, tanking is an issue if there are fans coming to games spending the same price that they would for a normal ticket and not getting a normal game product that they come to expect. And yes, there are fans who are going to be like down for their team to tank because they understand what it means. Like the whole idea of tanking, like I get why teams do it. And I don't think that there's any real penalties the NBA can throw out to discourage teams from doing that when one of the best ways forward to building your team is having a superstar. And how you're going to get a superstar, either through free agency or from drafting or from making a trade. And to be able to draft that superstar who is going to be on that rookie contract coming into the league for the first 4 years, 5 years, like you want that control over that contract that's going to be cheaper. You want that opportunity to have a young superstar to build around. So like, yeah, teams are going to tank. But yeah, also affordability is an issue. Like jokes that were made when the Bucks started on their slump. I had friends being like, man, we're about to get some Bradley Center pricing on these tickets at Fiserv Forum. So I'm about to be at all the games.
Did see some of that.
So like I get it. So like in a sense, tanking is directly tied to like secondary market ticket prices of like, it's going to be cheaper to get in the building. But if you're buying directly from like, it's still the same. So yeah, like, yeah, there's a problem with affordability and yeah, you want game presentation to be tight, but tanking is still something that the NBA has to take a look into of like, is there something we can do personally? I'm not sure that there's much they can do to curb it.
I don't know about that. And since you brought it up too, I will say this, and we'll get back to the topic. I was very curious what the building was going to look like, what the crowds were going to look like at times when it started to get really low with the Bucks this season. And I was extremely surprised to see how full the building remained. Like it obviously wasn't full sellouts every single game, but there were some games where you're like, I wonder how many people are actually going to show up here. And it was pretty full for the Bucks. So shout to all the Bucks fans out there that said maybe it was, taking Camille's suggestion and hitting up the secondary market to get Bradley center prices on some of the tickets. But we did see attendance didn't waver too much through what hopefully was the darkest period of all of this. As for what he said in general, I do want to get to like how you would curb tanking potentially, but this is maybe the part in the ramblings from Mark Cuban that stood out to me the most, that I had to read a couple of times and just think like, wait, what? The NBA has been misguided, thinking that fans want to see their teams compete every night with a chance to win. It's never been that way. When I got into the NBA, they thought they were in the basketball business. They aren't. They are in the business of creating experiences for fans. Few can remember the score from the last game or can remember the dunks or shots. What they remember is who they were with, their family, friends, a date. That's what makes the experience special. Are you serious? Right? Like, look, remember the score itself? No, few can remember that. I will grant you that, because this isn't the NFL. This isn't
Right.
baseball. Or, hey, remember that 1-0 game I went to? Like, who is saying, oh, yeah, I remember I went to that Hornets game. They won 117 to 110. No. But I remember that Giannis block. I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one late. I remember that corner three from the boss man, Jay Crowder, against the Suns. We remember Drew Holiday picking the pocket of Devin Booker. So, like, no, you do remember moments. I remember Con Knipple and that rebound going directly to him, knock down a three. We remember those moments. It's not like, well, I just remember I went there with my dad or I went there with my neighbor and we had so much fun. That is one of the stupidest things I have seen someone in the position of Mark Cuban say. And the whole, like, we're in the business of creating experiences for fans. I'm not going to be naive and say, well, that's simply not true. There is some truth to that unfortunately, and it's what I hate the most about where we currently are, Camille, with everything in this world, is like, yes, it is experience driven, but like, that's not at its core what sports is. It isn't that. Like, the experience is watching the competition and seeing your team win. Like, nobody is going to Fiserv Forum and saying, I don't even know who they're playing. Like, I don't care if the Bucks win tonight. They have a new hot dog that I want to try, and I get a chance to catch up with my neighbor.
To say that like the NBA is being misguided, thinking that fans want to see their team compete every night with a chance to win, it's never been that way. We're not watching sports for the sport of it. That's why we keep score. Like, we want to win. And I said that before with this Bucks team of like, this is a team that has Milwaukee across its chest. I want them to go out every single night and compete. I want to be proud when I watch my team compete. This is not, this ain't that. Like, and for me personally too, growing up in a family where everything's competitive, like I really cannot subscribe to that. Losing don't matter. You're going to talk through it, winning, whatever. Like, yes, I enjoy being able to make those memories of going to games and talking and watching games with my uncles and my cousins and things like that. But we absolutely remember what happened in the game, and we absolutely want the team to win. Ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're not like, that's why when the Bucks won in 21, it was like euphoria for the city because it hadn't happened in so long. Not because the city didn't want it to happen, but just because it didn't. Like, you can't tell me anyone who was in Milwaukee for that championship run does not want to experience that again. Like, that was peak of like Bucks fandom over, the last 50 years or so. So like, no, to say that fans are going to games and don't care about the competition, like, that's flagrantly false. Flagrantly false.
Fans know their team can't win every game. They know only one team can win a ring. What a fan that care about their team's record want is hope. I'm assuming what he's saying, what fans care about is hope. hope they will get better and have a chance to compete for the playoffs and then maybe a ring. So
I do want the ring.
That's the experience that you're selling, is like, look, we suck, but hope. Just come watch the hope play out on the court that will be so bad we can get a chance to get a Luka Doncic and then hopefully keep him. But like, that's the hope that we're selling here.
On the future.
The last part of it, I said that first part I had to read over and over and thought, this is stupid. The last part was the real coup de grace from Mark Cuban when we talk about the finances here. So we'll get into our reaction to that part of his statement coming up next. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. So if you're already looking at the board, thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. You can pick a team to win the championship or just a team to win their conference, adding an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now not only can your pick cash in, it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. Well, there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make, and that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can text and call from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, making replies faster and more personal, and it works right from your phone or computer. They even have AI tools automatically logging calls and summarizing conversations. Details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. From solo operators to growing teams, make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That is QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. But here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about this on Indeed, on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, the last part of all of this, Camille, was really the cherry on top of the Sunday. The NBA should worry more about fan experience than tanking. It should worry more about pricing fans out of games than tanking. You know who cares the least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kids a jersey of their favorite player. Tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are. We touched on this earlier. I agree affordability is a big, big issue, but it's not exclusive to the NBA. It is a big issue in all of sports. I think obviously where the tickets are most expensive when you look at the NFL, well, it's one of 17 events that you're selling. So that is kind of part of the draw. But when you're talking about 82 games, when you're talking about 162 games in Major League Baseball and 82 games in the NHL, affordability is an issue. I'm not even going to touch what's going on in the world with affordability and the economy, but that also plays into it. But let me just get this straight. You want to sell on affordability here. You want to improve that and sell on the overall experience that you're getting, not so much the tanking component. And number one, prices are not going to go down. I'm not naive to think that, but let's just live in this fantasy world and say, you know what? Teams have decided we feel bad about our season ticket holders that are paying too much. We feel bad that our fans are paying this much money and we suck. So we're going to show a gesture of good faith. We're going to drop the ticket price by 30%. And even then, we're going to take a page out of the Falcons book and we're going to say, you know what? All concessions are $4. Let's live in this fantasy world and accept that. How does that solve the experience that you're having when it's like, okay, it's cheaper to get in here. You can create these experiences with your family and you can share these moments, but the teams suck. And, Giannis, he isn't playing. Steph Curry isn't playing. LeBron isn't playing. These guys have been shut down. Lauri Markkanen isn't going to play in the fourth quarter for some reason where fans are going to scramble and wonder, like, is he hurt? What am I missing here? None of that's going to change. But you know what? It's cheaper for you to get in here.
Yeah, because everyone wants to go see a team that is not good. Like that's what everybody wants. Only the sickos are in for that, and that is part of the story to what made my Bucks fandom grow. Was during the very lean years when I was in college, going to games because they were cheap and being like, I need something to do. I'm just go to these games because I can get into the Bradley Center and sit lower level for $20. I can afford that. But again, sicko behaviors over here, like very sick. That's not going to bring more people in. If anything, if Mark Cuban wanted to put something in the ground and stand on this of what the NBA needs to be doing, like, yes, affordability is definitely going to be an issue, but also just access to the games, I think, is an even bigger problem for the NBA. I still think that it's outlandish that fans in the local market have to pay extra per month to watch their local team play basketball. If anything, if you want to try to flip the apple cart on something, flip it on making sure that teams can watch or fans can watch the teams in their market. Like, I have people in Milwaukee who haven't watched more than a handful of Bucks games this season because they're like, well, I don't have the network it comes on. I tried using the app last season, didn't enjoy the experience, can't do that again. Like, why can't this be on, regular TV like the Packers games are? And again, yes, fewer games, understand that with NFL, but like, I grew up where I could watch the Bucks on UPN and things like that, where it was
Super
not
18. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it didn't cost to watch the team. And it's not saying that I think fans should have access to every single game happening, but if you're in market, you should be able to watch your team for free. The games, yes, they should be affordable, but more than anything, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. You want the team that represents your city, that represents your fandom, to be playing in a way that makes you proud to see them hit the court. And if a team is bad just to be bad, that is also a problem. Like, you can't separate tanking and be like, well, that's not a problem. Actually, this is a problem. It can all be problems. All the things need to be solved. Like, you want competitive basketball to be played. And yes, you want it to be affordable. And yes, you want people to be able to watch their team. Just because the other things are true does not mean that the tanking part is false. Like, no one wants to watch bad basketball. Even those who are on the tank command and they're rooting for their team to tank, it's only for that season because they think it's going to get better thereafter. Like, it's people want competitive basketball. Ultimately, you want competitive sports. So we'll see. Mark Cuban, listen, appreciate parts of your rant, but like misguided in quite a few areas of it.
I do overall like Mark Cuban, but it just felt like such a straw man that we're getting at here. And I mean, look, too, here's where tanking is, in fact, it is definitely an issue. This is not even up. The fact that the commissioner himself is like, yeah, we're exploring everything at this point. Through all of those points that Mark Cuban raised, like if what you want to stand behind is the fan experience, okay, so are we just catering everything for in the arena? Because you know what sucks for fan experience? Watching a team that's tanking
Right.
and what that does to your local TV coverage. And then in turn, what you're next. And this is a whole separate can of worms, especially with the news in the last couple of weeks and the update from a day or so ago with our local regional sports network. But the value of your local TV rights contract goes down when your team sucks and when there's not ratings and viewership for it, because when you're bad is when you stop watching.
Yep.
And I mean, it hasn't come here when the Bucks have been bad, because we have actually seen some of the most engagement when they've been really bad, that you want to get it off your chest. But that's fine in the short term. What you and I experienced in the 90s and 2000s, basically, and up until 2015, 16, was when that becomes the norm and prolonged, then there is apathy. And
Yep.
then it is like, okay, they're offering this. Like, yeah, I'll go check out a Bucks game if the tickets are cheap and free. But also, when I got to weigh what am I going to do tonight, if the Bucks are really good, I'm watching the game. If the Bucks are not, and it's been this way for quite some time, I'll go see a movie. I'll go do this. We'll go to dinner. We'll spend our money on something else, and I'll just read about it the next day, something like that. And that is a problem with your fan engagement and with your experience with promoting the league. And that, again, not to say that every bad team is tanking, but what do you think the fan interaction, what do you think every night is like for a team like the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards of, unless it's my job to cover this team or broadcast their games or report on this team, like, yeah, I'm probably going to take a lot of nights off. And then what happens to your fan base?
Yeah, it deteriorates until you can find ways to get back to winning, and then everybody's like, "Oh, the bandwagon, quote unquote, is full again." Like, experienced that here in Milwaukee during like the championship run. Like, there were some fans who were like, "I didn't see y'all in the gutter with us when we were talking about Monte have it all," and it's like everybody don't have to. Like, that's not a requirement for everybody. But again, you know when your team is really on, when everyone is locked in on what they're doing. So ultimately, competition is what drives sports. Like, that's what you want to see. You come to Fiserv Forum to see Giannis and to see this team compete. You go because you think like, hey, we're pretty good. Like, you can look at how Fiserv was jumping from the moment it got built, pretty much up until, I mean, even this year with some of the lower numbers, like people are still coming out to these games. Like, it's a different feel when you have a building full of fans that are engaged because their team is engaged. Like, you want to get to that. And most fans, yes, if you say, hey, this year we're trying to tank because we're trying to get back, most fans, but okay, we kind of get that, fine. But if you don't get it back, like you said, where it's years and years and years, then you have the task of having to rebuild fandom in your own community all over again.
Yeah.
And that's a tough task to do as well.
I mean, he's continued to add on to his messaging. He just had another tweet that went out a few minutes ago talking about tanking's getting everyone's attention. So here's some more. Back in the day, mentioning too, like when the Mavs were really good and winning 50 games every year, they never had a chance at a really good pick. So we floated the draft being more like free agency. And I wouldn't be surprised if we ultimately get there. But like, again, tanking is the issue. And there needs to be a fix that's put in here, because we can argue over the inventory of the schedule, and it's delicate and tricky for me as somebody that is paid on a per game basis. I'm all in favor of 100 games in that case. But when you have teams that are just punting on large portions, the fact that we've already started this discussion in late January, February, instead of just the like, well, once you get to March, this thing starts to happen. That's when it becomes a problem of, okay, you are actively turning people away. So I do think we are going to see something change here and put in place in effect for the 2027 draft. What that is, I don't know. But it's not as simple as like, well, just make the in-arena experience better. lower the cost of tickets and allow families to go there and buy jerseys of their favorite player. Like, whether or not it is, you have a pool of money for the draft class, and it's not just you get to choose, like you're picking at this number, so you can choose whoever you want, and you make it like any other workforce of, okay, the teams with a worse record have more money to spend. So then it comes down to, do I want to go here and make as much money as I can? Or do I want to go to a better opportunity where I'm not going to make quite as much money, similar to what all of us go through when you enter the job force? If it's something like that, I hate the idea of the wheel and just every team that doesn't qualify for the lottery gets the same percentage chance to win the draft, because like inevitably you're going to end up with, and we may get it this year, Oklahoma City wins the championship and then gets the number one pick in the draft. So if it's something like that where there's like a cap that you use to sign incoming rookies. The one thing I did like that he pointed out too is he pushed for with the Mavs 4 rounds of a draft. Like, we at least could get 3 rounds. When you look at as soon as the draft ends, how many reports are out there? If this guy signed a 2-way contract or an Exhibit 10 contract, like, we can enhance and upgrade the number of rounds that we have in the NBA draft. And like, let's move to the point, and this why we haven't seen it is it's a financial investment by the teams, but let's move to a point where your G League team, there's none of this ambiguity over like, well, they can't actually call him up because they don't own the rights and this. Like, no, if you play for the Wisconsin Herd, you are under some form of contract with the Milwaukee Bucks, whether that's 3 rounds or 4 rounds, and you go up the number of 2-way contracts, or like, this guy can't be promoted, things like that. But removing that ambiguity as well, it's not going to help tanking, but just more the things that I could see us moving towards.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try something. Like, something will be tried, and like I said, we'll have to see, because I think unless the punishment or the structure changes vastly, teams are still going to try to find a way to be that team with the best odds to get that draft pick, because again, it's one of the few ways you can really add like game-changing talent to your team. So we'll see, but ultimately we know that the tanking conversation is going to continue throughout the rest of this season. I'll be curious to see, coming out of the All-Star break too, how these teams approach it going forward for the rest of this year with the penalties that were given out to the Jazz and to the Pacers. But we'll have to see. I can tell you one thing. I don't agree with Mark Cuban. So on that whole point. So we're going to see how it continues to shake out. But ultimately, tanking is going to be a topic of hot conversation leading all the way up to this 2026 draft.
All right. Leave your thoughts on the tanking situation, Mark Cuban's take on it. If you agree with that, or you're more aligned with Camille and I and have some pretty strong disagreements with Mark Cuban's take on tanking. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we've softly teased it. I feel pretty good. We are going to have one of the national writers join us, and a long-standing member of Giannis Incorporated, sharing his thoughts on the current situation and what he sees as the end result here. So we won't give away who it is. I think enough of you could probably pick up on the clues. I'll just say his name rhymes with Gen Bolivar is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. That'll do it for today's show, though. Thanks to everybody for continuing to tune in, making this your first and second listen of the day. Again, you can still sign up for the Everydayer Club. You get access to the Discord server, ad-free episodes of these shows as well. You can find a link to sign up for the Everydayer Club in the show notes of today's episode. That'll do it for today. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.